So, video games and cartoons. You know what those are, right? Hopefully you do, because if you don't, then this video serves no purpose. Anyways, what if we mix them both so they can become one? Video game cartoons are a very interesting subject, at least to me. Some of them are great, you know, really good adaptations, and then others are Mega Boy. Let's take Mega Man, but we make him a boy. What do you say? I'm not going to be talking about the newer video game cartoons, I'm going to be talking about the older ones, the video game cartoons that really started the popularity of this genre. These older video game cartoons have a certain spark to them that the newer ones don't, because back in the 80s and 90s, video games weren't like Elden Ring or Spider-Man 2, no. They were mainly 2D side-scrollers or low-poly RPGs, and I'm not saying 2D side-scrollers or low-poly RPGs are bad, I'm just saying that's all there was back then. So the makers of these older cartoons had to really try, definitely more than nowadays, I'm guessing. Alright, I'm going to stop blabbering now. Let's get into the first video game cartoon. Now, the Super Mario Bros. Super Show was and still is a master of the art. It is just truly beautiful. It was originally released on air in 1989 and actually had a very good number of episodes. This is where Google fucks me over, okay? It says here that there's 65 episodes, but then right here it says there's 52. What do you mean? Let's address the elephant in the room. This show looks completely different from what you were probably used to. Let me put on my nerd glasses real quick. That's because this show came out when the only Mario games released were Super Mario Bros. 1, Super Mario Bros. 2, and Super Mario Land. Since the year was, again, 1989, it didn't have a lot to go off of. Bowser looked like this, and Mario looked different, but honestly, you can tell that that nice little Italian ass is Mario. This wasn't the only Super Mario show, though. There would be more eventually released called The Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario World. Can you guess what games these shows are based off of? I'm not going to be talking about these shows because 1, the Super Mario Bros. Super Show is just simply better, and 2, I don't wanna. Also, the Super Mario World show is very weird, but anyways, let me give you the rundown. The Super Mario Bros. Super Show is a live action part and an animated part. In my opinion, the live action part is my favorite. Seeing Mario and Luigi interact with people in quote-unquote real life is funny as hell. The actors Lou Albano and Danny Wells did an amazing job, rest in peace. A little background about Lou Albano is that he was actually a wrestler at a point in time, which is very fucking cool. The live action part is basically like a little Mario sitcom, you know, that made the show very different from other cartoons. Nintendo, though, as always, was a hard ass about licensing Mario so they could make a show. Oh god, wait, this always happens. I'm sorry, Nintendo, okay? I won't speak bad about you again. Just please let me continue my video. Originally, this show was supposed to be called a Super Mario Bros. Power Hour, which would show not only Mario characters, but other characters from Metroid, Castlevania, and etc. I'm glad it's just Mario characters, though. It makes for a better rooted show. Now, the music for this show, holy shit, it was splendid. Wonderful. But I can't show you it because, you know, Nintendo's a hard ass. So if you want to listen to it, the music is in the description. I highly recommend you listen to it. It's definitely better than Taylor Swift. Surprisingly, at least to me, when it was released, people didn't like it really all that much. I understand, but I also don't, okay? I think it is amazing. Mark Bozon from the godforsaken company IGN said that the show was, quote, the biggest offender among Nintendo's many embarrassing moments. Fuck you, Mark Bozon. This shit is great! It's understandable that it might not look the best or sound the best, but you have to admit it's a funny and nice-hearted show. Now, I'm probably saying this all because of nostalgic reasons, but how can you blame me? I used to sit down and watch this show for hours. I recently just binge watched it actually, and it is still one of the best video game cartoons. Alright, I said it. It's one of the best video game cartoons. Shoot me. Now, there wasn't really a story of the show. I mean, there were stories in all of the episodes, but I ain't going over all that shit. I'm not God. It was mainly just a series of consecutive stories in the Mario universe, and once again, I think it's better that way. My favorite character is Toad. He's one annoying fuck, but he's like the funniest of them all. In all honesty, his character dynamic carries the series. I mean, in the first episode, he gets stolen as someone's baby, so I'd understand why he's pissed or something like that half the time. The show ended about 3 months after its release. It ended on December 1st, 1989. 65 or 52 episodes for a 3-month period is definitely a feat to recognize. This show is definitely more out there for Mario, but the newest Mario game is like your high half the time, so I think it's perfectly fine. What I'm saying is that the show wasn't like your average Mario game for the time. The stories definitely got weird and crazy, but a good weird and crazy. There was a spaghetti sea or some shit like that, and you basically had Elvis on the show. I mean, there was some pretty interesting shit for sure, but they made it in a way where it was understandable and entertaining, especially for little old me when I used to watch it in 2013. The Super Mario Super Show is definitely a cartoon that everyone should watch. Hell, you should watch it after this video. I loved it then and I still do. Anyway, with that being said, let's talk about the next video game cartoon. Now, Now, I know this might sound confusing, but this show, The Legend of Zelda, was tied into the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. The Legend of Zelda would play, I'm guessing, after the Super Mario Bros. Show, because whenever the show ends, it just shows the Mario show credits. I still don't fully understand it, just know in a way they are very similar. I mean, each show is made by the same exact people, and you can definitely tell the similarities. Moving on, The Legend of Zelda aired around the same time as the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, and ended on the exact same date. Link in this show is a complete dick, okay? He always is trying to get a kiss from Zelda, and is just generally an asshole. You know his famous line.
Excuse me, princess. If I'd known you were coming.
Yeah, he says that about every damn chance he gets. It's funny, trust me, but Jesus Christ, you have to put that voice line in every 3 minutes. Zelda is a genuinely nice character, just not to Link, which shit, I wouldn't be either. There's a fairy, very similar to Tinkerbell, called Sprite. Sprite is basically pre-Navi. She has a crush on Link, but not only that, she is a humongous cockblock. So all three of these characters basically have like a type of love triangle going. The writers were really given freedom while writing these episodes, and I think if Nintendo had more of a say in it all, the show would definitely not be like this at all. Link wants to get with Zelda, Zelda is trolling Link, and Sprite likes Link, but Link doesn't like her back. I know for a Legend of Zelda show, you wouldn't expect this, and trust me, I didn't either. Like the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, there really isn't a story, there's multiple stories in all these episodes. The main prize for Ganon though is of course the Triforce. Like Bowser, Ganon also looks vastly different. Hell, they could probably be brothers. Since this came out in 1989, the only Legend of Zelda games at the time were The Legend of Zelda and The Legend of Zelda 2. Also, this might be a controversial opinion, but the second one sucks. This show only had 13 episodes. It wasn't really considered a success. I do like Link's and Zelda's character dynamic more in this show than the games though. It's through a different eye because instead of Zelda being captured or something along those lines, Zelda is fighting alongside Link most of the time. And of course, Link's kinky fuck ruins it. After watching this show, I consider Link to be one of the horniest Nintendo characters I think ever. The show also elaborates on stuff from the games, like how Link carries so much shit while he just shrinks the damn thing. The Mario show people like and didn't like. This show was, well, not received as well, and according to a past VHS, Link and Zelda in the show are only 15. That is too damn young for you, Link, to be this horny. Ganon in the show isn't really focused on Zelda, mainly just focused on that sexy ass three-sided magical shape or a triangle. The Triforce plays more of a role in the show than recent games like Breath of the Wild or Tears of Kingdom. Nowadays, the Triforce isn't really used in storylines or anything. It's mainly just used as a symbol for The Legend of Zelda. This is the best symbol for a game in my opinion. I have a little keychain for it. You know, I have a beanie for it that I wore in my yearbook photos. I kind of regret that one, I'm gonna be honest. I honestly love this show more than the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. It's funnier and also in a weird way built better, at least in my opinion. If you haven't noticed, at least 1/3 of this video is opinions, so don't cry like a little baby bitch. Great show. Again, don't know why people didn't like it, but it's all preference at the end of the day. Anyways, you probably know what I'm about to say, so on to the next video game cartoon. The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. I know you probably wanted Sonic X. I know. Cry it all out. We'll talk about Sonic X at a later date, but The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog is the first Sonic show. And of course, it isn't perfect, but it's a damn good one. This cartoon isn't related to Nintendo, so thank God we are finally out of their wrath. This cartoon is a little after the Mario and Zelda show. This show was released in 1993, 2 years after Sonic the Hedgehog 1's release. This show also has its kinks like the other ones. The Super Mario Bros. Super Show had live action segments, The Legend of Zelda had, well, horniness, and this show has PSA segments called Sonic Says at the end of each episode, basically telling kids to not do drugs, don't drink, don't ride in clothes dryers, and to use your stupid fucking brain, you know, the usual. Anyway, with this cartoon as well, there isn't a main story really. That was kind of how a lot of cartoons were back in the day. Eggman or Dr. Robotnik tries to conquer their home planet of Morbius. Wait, sorry, that's not fucking it. Tries to conquer their home planet of Mobius. See, it still sounds like it. I can't fucking help it. Dr. Robotnik's henchmen are Scratch, Grounder, and Coconuts, and there's a lot of love for these characters. Now, I've done research, but I don't think they're in any of the recent games, but hey, I could be wrong, I don't know. The voice actor for Sonic is Jaleel White, aka Steve fucking Urkel. If you don't know who Steve Urkel is, you're not living life correctly. There was an eventual Christmas special for the show, but it was also to promote their upcoming game, Sonic X-treme. That game never came to be, so they just promoted Sonic 3D Blast instead, which wasn't really that good. The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog had mixed reviews. Some said it was really good, and some said it was mediocre. You know how it is. My opinion on the show isn't that different. It's alright, I'll watch it if I have to, but Sonic X is infinitely better. I think the show did a better job of representing the video game it's from rather than the other shows, and Tails was a woman in the Spanish version of the show. Kinda interested to see that. I do have to admit, between some episodes, Sonic, Tails, and all the other characters look a little different, and I'm guessing it's because multiple artists or studios worked on different different episodes, but I'm talking like it's pretty noticeable, at least to my dumbass. The music for this show is also quite amazing, with the intro music being a fucking banger. Overall, it was a fine show with some perks that were really cool and some perks that were, well, they were fine, can't really say anything bad about them. Alright, well, with all that wrapped up, let's continue on to another video game cartoon. Donkey Kong Country is a cartoon that was made in Canada but originally aired in France for some reason. Now you are definitely thinking this show looks like ass, and while yes it does, it has some charm to it, I guess. This was made when CGI and motion capture were on a little bit of a rise. I think it was a good concept and it might have looked good for back then, but this definitely hasn't aged the best at all. This show actually had enough fans for it to get a second season. Wow, I know, very surprising stuff. This cartoon is of course based off the game Donkey Kong Country, and you know, it doesn't do that bad of a job. Kind of hard to watch for a while, yeah, but if you're looking for a nice game adaptation, I'd suggest this, I think. This show takes place on Congo Bongo Island, and the main plot is kind of like the Legend of Zelda show in a way. King K. Rool wants to steal the crystal coconut to rule over the island, just like Ganon wanted to steal the Triforce to rule over Hyrule. More similar, actually, the more I think about it. Donkey Kong is also kind of a dick like Link, but he's more understanding, I'd say. He's in a relationship with Candy Kong, and already in the first episode, he makes Candy Kong piss, so kind of fucked up there, but generally Donkey Kong is nicer. The best Donkey Kong character ever is in this show. The monkey, the myth, the legend, fucking Funky Kong. He just makes the show like a million times better, although I wish he was in it more, but hey, to each their own. And you know who voices Baby Kong in this show? Caillou. Okay, not the actual physical being Caillou, but the voice actor for him. This show aired way longer than the rest since it had 2 seasons. It aired from August 15th, 1997 to July 7th, 2000. If Donkey Kong would have aired for a year or two longer, then maybe 9/11 wouldn't have happened. Since they used motion capture for this show, I wonder what the hell the actors looked like while pretending to be Donkey Kong when he would hit his chest or just be there. Although this show might have not been as popular in America, or maybe it was, I wasn't alive then, it was definitely popular in Japan, with there being a pretty good amount of merchandise for it. In Japan there was a manga for it, and even a collectible card game for it, so yeah, they definitely loved it. Although I don't have the game, nor understand what the hell any of it says, it still looks pretty cool. It's nice to see something like this get its own merchandise like that. And even a song from the show called Pirate Scorn was covered by the heavy metal band Alstorm. I fucking love this band, that is just so weirdly cool. Okay, I'll stop geeking out now, but that's just fucking awesome. Well, I'm guessing you already know what I'm about to say this time, so on to the last video game cartoon. To start out, if you want a fever dream, this show will definitely give you one. That's mostly because this show was made in 1982 and all the colors, voice acting, just about everything is eccentric. Out of all the cartoons, this one probably moves the fastest since already in the first episode there are like 2 stories in one. This is all because they had to make a video game cartoon off of this. Believe it or not, it's very hard to make a detailed video game cartoon when this is the main game it's based off of. I do have to give props to the writers and animators because even if it isn't the best, they still did a great job for 1982. This show's also probably a little weird since this was really the first video game cartoon. Whenever it was first aired, it had over 20 million children watching it. And also whenever it first aired, people thought Pac-Man chomping the ghosts was too hostile. I mean, again, it's 1982, but come on, really? This show takes place in Pac-Land, and it gives a main villain to the Pac-Man universe called Mesmeron. And his main goal is to find the main power source of the power pellets which controls the city. Hold on a minute, I'm noticing a theme here. Eventually, as the show goes on, we get Super Pac and Pac-Man's cousin, PJ or Pac Jr. I have never ever in my history of living heard of Pac Jr. until today. Interesting character to make, but if you find a way to make money, then do it, I guess. This cartoon, like Donkey Kong Country, had 2 seasons. For a video game cartoon, especially 1982, that's a little surprising to me, and I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but for video game cartoons, that's more than you can ask for. And this cartoon didn't really have its own show. It was a part of something called the Pac-Man / Little Rascals / Richie Rich Show. Excuse me, what? They did this as well with the Legend of Zelda and the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, but what the hell is that name? They also have a character called Adult Pac-Baby. You know what we call that? Just fucking Pac-Man. But as much as I'm currently shitting on the show, it did really well for the time. It did so well that CBS made a ripoff called Saturday Supercade, which actually wasn't that bad. It had Donkey Kong and Mario in it, so I actually kind of liked it. Not only did this show have 2 seasons, but it also had a Christmas special and even a Halloween special. The Christmas special is just Santa Claus, Crashlands, and Pac-Land, and Pac-Man and his friends have to save him. The Halloween special has 2 segments called Pacula and Trick or Chomp. Also, I don't want to ruin anyone's life, but Santa Claus, he isn't real. You know who eats those cookies and drinks the milk? Your parents. They've been fucking lying to you. I wonder if anyone's parents have actually gave their kids coal, because if so, that's fucking rude as hell. This series overall was a huge hit in the video game and cartoon business. It even inspired the making of the game Pac-Man made in 1984. Other elements in the show would lead to them being in actual games as well, such as Pac-Man 2: The New Adventures. Some would even say that this show increased the number of Pac-Man fans. Everyone is definitely tired of Pac-Man nowadays, but back then it was a new hit thing, especially with arcades and everything. Also, I want arcades back. There's barely any around anymore. They're so cool. Please bring them back. Anywho, Pac-Man is an alright show, but I probably will never watch it again in my entire life. Overall, if it weren't for older video game cartoons to lay the foundations, we probably wouldn't have a lot of the video game cartoons today. Whenever you mix $2 billion industries into one, you get a pretty good deal, with both having made over $300 billion. All these video game cartoons were definitely fun to look back on, especially fun to see how far we've come over the past decades. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go watch the actual best video game cartoon, Minecraft Story Mode by Smash Bits Animations.